Hey, what is going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this video on my sports Gematria. In this video, I'm going to go over day 2 of the college tournament for Saturday, March 20th, 2021. I'm going to show you both sides of each game. It's going to be up to you to determine who you think will win based on the numbers. I encourage you to add additional information on top of this if needed for you to feel confident in your own pick. And if for some reason you're curious to know who I'm picking in these games, you'll have to join my Patreon where my picks are always in writing, underlined, and italicized. For more information on that, please read the description of this video. I wish you guys the best of luck in your picks today. Let's go ahead and get into today's games. We're going to be looking at Georgetown and Colorado, UNC Greensboro, Florida State, Eastern Washington, Kansas, St. Bonaventure, LSU, to be determined versus Michigan, UC Santa Barbara versus Creighton, Iona versus Alabama, to be determined versus USC, Grand Canyon versus Iowa, Maryland versus Yukon, Ohio and Virginia, Missouri, Oklahoma, to be determined versus Gonzaga, to be determined versus BYU, Abilene Christian, Texas, VCU, and Oregon. So I'm going to have my daily numbers on this side, date numerology, Gregorian, and the Hebrew calendar. And then I'm going to have my game numbers on this side. I have some verbiage right here. Men's basketball championship, East region, men's basketball championship, and then the word East. Right here is the season record, their tournament record via ESPN, head-to-head record if there is any. And then there's the other bottom team, Colorado, their record for the season, tournament record, and their coach record. That's how I have it structured. One thing that you can also do when doing these games is you could be looking at the bracket to see who they might match up next if they were to win. You know, if you want to look ahead to also determine your decisions, as well as not only having today's date numerology for the games, but having 2 days from now, which would be Monday, the 22nd, is when the next set of games would be played for this day. So let's go ahead and just go over these games. I'm not going to be doing extensive work on it. I want to kind of breeze through this so I don't have you guys watching a video for 2 hours long. I want to try and make it a little bit less than the last video. I think it was like 40 minutes. But I'm just going to try and hit the highlights for these games to give you guys both sides and help you guys out and give you some information here. So the first one, Georgetown and Colorado. We got the 5 seed versus the 12 seed. There's nothing really marked here actually. There's nothing that popped out at me at this game. There's nothing that jumps out to me with the date numerology. The only thing that I have marked here is Georgetown. They're playing their 77th tournament game. And today is the 7th day of the 7th month on the Hebrew Civil, like 77. So I thought that was interesting. It's also the 79th day of the Gregorian. 79 is the 22nd prime. Colorado comes into this with 22 wins for the season, where they could potentially stay with the loss. Outside of that, I really don't see anything, honestly. If Georgetown loses, they would become 13-13 for a season record, and Colorado's coach would get his 233rd win as a coach for Colorado. 233 is the 13th Fibonacci number, so maybe there's a indirect Fibonacci pattern there. Colorado, it's their 31st game of the season, 31 the 11th prime. They could potentially get their 11th tournament win as a team. And then outside of that, again, I just don't. I mean, the number 12 seeds Georgetown. They can sit on 12 losses for the season to advance to the next round. That's potential. Outside of that, I don't really see anything. I'm going to have to keep looking at this one. This one doesn't help much. Not off to a great start, but it doesn't help much. I'm just not seeing a whole lot for this. 31 and 23. I mean, they're kind of identical in Gematria a little bit. 31, 23. Yeah, they share 31, 34, and 53. 134 and 53. So they share 2 of the 4 base ciphers. So in their 31st game, excuse me, they can get their 23rd win, and then 31 the 11th prime, they can get their 11th tournament win, potentially. But outside of that, It is Colorado, their 27th tournament game. 27 sums to 125. This is the 12 seed versus the 5 seed, like 125. Alright, let's keep it moving. I know this doesn't help much. There's not a whole lot here. I'm going to have to keep looking at this game. I don't think Georgetown would upset off a glance, but I could be missing something here. You know, they're 121, 121st game for Georgetown's coach. I think it's Patrick Ewing. 12 seed, they can sit on 12. 1-2-1, 1-2-1, 1-2, 1-2. Maybe that's potential there. Colorado would sit on 10 at tournament wins with the loss, as Georgetown becomes 1-0 head-to-head against Colorado, like 10. And then Georgetown would sit on 29 tournament losses with a win, 29 the 10th prime. So that's potential. Today does have 64 date numerology on the Gregorian. 64 sums to 50. Colorado could become 229, like 229, the 50th prime number. So there's potential for an upset there. But let's keep it moving. We have UNC Greensboro versus Florida State. Potential upset here as well. Whoever wins this game and whoever wins this game, they play each other. And the potential upset for UNC would be UNC Greensboro, their coach, comes in with 134 losses. If UNC wins this game, it's the 13 seed versus the 4 seed. Like 134. He can sit on 134 with the win. UNC would be 1-3 for a tournament record, like 13 as a 13 seed. UNC would get their 22nd win for the season on the 79th day of the Gregorian, 79 the 22nd prime. They'd be 228. Florida State coach, he would get his 228th loss as a coach for Florida State. So definitely potential there. And then if UC and Greensboro wins this game, and Colorado wins this game, it will be the 5 seed versus the 13 seed. And that's when the UNC coach can get his 135th loss. 13 versus 5. Potentially, if there was an upset narrative. It is his 320th game, and today is March 20th, like 320. But Florida State has some pretty good numbers for themselves. Florida can get their 17th win for the season. The number 17 sums to 44. It also sums to 134. And again, this is the 4 seed versus the 13 seed, 13, 4, 134. It also sums to 109. And Florida can get their 17th win as their coach gets his 599th win for his career. 599 is the 109th prime number. And then Florida State would also get their 22nd tournament win as they sit on 17 losses for the tourney. Today was 79 date numerology, the 22nd prime. Get that 22nd. It would be their 39th tournament game where they can get their 22nd win. 22 sums to 39. So there is a UNC Greensboro upset with 135 potentially in the 134, the 228, the 22. But Florida State has some pretty good numbers with that 17 and that 22 connection, and then their coach can get their 599, his 599th. Today does have 64 date numerology on the Gregorian. 64 sums to 49 and 50. Florida State can become 5-0, like 50 head-to-head against UNC, as their coach sits on 227 losses with a win, the 49th prime number. Eastern Washington versus Kansas. Men's basketball championship, West Region, sums to 159, which is a reflection of 951. This is Kansas coach's 951st game. Kansas, it's their 29th game for the season. They can get their 109th tournament win, 109 the 29th prime. It's their 156th tournament game. Today with 28 date numerology, 28 sums to 156. It also sums to 141, and Kansas would get their 21st win for the season. 21 sums to 141 as well. For Eastern Washington, though, if they were to upset, well, their coach, for one, can get his 49th loss. 64 date numerology on the Gregorian, 64 sums to 49. But if Eastern Washington were to upset, it would be because of the number 17. The number 17 sums to 44, today with 44 date numerology on the Gregorian. Not only that, it's the 7th day of the Hebrew month, or the 7th day of the Hebrew religious year. And Eastern Washington can sit on 7 losses with a win as they get their 17th win. 17, the 7th prime number. So that actually could play in favor of Eastern Washington. Kansas would sit on 20 wins with a loss on the 20th of March. But at the same time, they could just become 2-0 head-to-head against Eastern Washington, like 20. So that kind of goes both ways. Kansas, if we're looking ahead, if Kansas wins this game, they would next play on Monday, which would be March 22nd, 3-2-2 or 2-2-3. And that's potentially when the Kansas coach can get his 223rd loss, the 48th prime, and then they would get their 48th, potentially, if we're looking ahead. If Kansas were to win this game, you might want to target them to maybe lose on Monday. But, yeah, let's keep it going. Let's keep it rolling. St. Bonaventure versus LSU. St. Bonaventure, they can get their 17th win for the season. We've been talking about 17 in all of these games. It's their 17th tournament game. 17 sums to 44. 44 date numerology on the Gregorian. Today has 89 date numerology on the Hebrew religious, and St. Bonaventure can be 8-9 for a tournament record with the win, like 89. LSU, they are the current 8 seed. St. Bonaventure, they're the current 9 seed, 8-9, 9-8. Like I said, they can become 8-9 for a tourney record with the win. Today with 89 date numerology on the Hebrew religious. But LSU, as the 8 seed, they could potentially get their 19th win for the season. 19 is the 8th prime number. The number 19 also sums to 86. And their coach would sit on 86 losses for his career with the win, as he gets his 86th win as a coach for LSU specifically. And if LSU wins this game, they would become 19-9 for a record. 199 is the 46 prime number. And the next time this team would play, if they were to win, would be on Monday with 46 date numerology. 199, the 46 prime. So they can go in on Monday with 46 date numerology. Potentially. Because you do have this 8-9 here. 9 seed, 8 seed. St. Bonaventure can be 8-9 in their 17th tournament game as they get their 17th win for the season. So there's that as well. Can't overlook it. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it rolling. Michigan versus either Mount St. Mary's or Texas Southern, one of the two. Can't really do a full look at this one just yet because this game hasn't happened. But whoever it is, it's going to be a 16 seed, and Michigan, their coach, can sit on 16 losses with the win, or he can get his 17th loss. We've been talking about the number 17 in almost every game. 17 sums to 44 today with 44 date numerology. But today also has 28 date numerology, and Michigan can sit on 28 losses as a in the tournament as a team as they get their 21st win. 28 sums to 141. 21 sums to 141. That'd play into favor for Michigan. But for this one, we'd have to wait until this game to see who matches up with Michigan to kind of look at the numbers again. But right now, the 21 and the 28 look interesting to me. The coach would sit on 16 against a 16 seed, whoever that is. There's potential there. But it is the 20th of March, and Michigan is another team that could potentially sit on 20 wins with the loss. So look out for that. It is the 7th day of the first month on the Hebrew religious, like 71. 71 is the 20th prime number. Forgot to mention that as well. So 20 is at play potentially. We'll have to look at this game again though. Once the first four finish. UC Santa Barbara versus Cretin. 79th day of the Gregorian, the 22nd prime. UC Santa Barbara comes in with 22 wins. Cretin comes in sitting on 22 losses for a tournament record. This is the 5 seed versus the 12 seed, like 12-5, 125. Cretin's coach, he can get his 125th loss as a coach for Cretin. Potential upset narrative there. Santa Barbara's coach, though, he can sit on 126 wins with a loss. Got to mark that purple because today is the 7th day of the first month on the Hebrew, like 71. 71 sums to 126. But at the same time, it is a day with 89 date numerology, and he could get his 89th win as a coach for UC Santa Barbara with the win. Cretin can become 2-1 head-to-head against Santa Barbara with the win, like 21, as Cretin gets their 21st win for the season. 21 sums to 141. Today with 28 date numerology, 28 sums to 141. Cretin coach, he can get his 401st win for his career today. 401 is the 79th prime number. It is the 79th day on the Gregorian. So, some potential there. Iona versus Alabama. Iona can become 12-6 with the loss. We just talked about this 126 here for UC Barbara coach. You can sit on 126 potentially. 7th day of the first month on the Hebrew religious, like 71. The word 71 sums to 126. Iona can become 12-6. The thing is, though, it's the 7th day of the year for the Hebrew religious, and Alabama can get their 7th loss for the season. On top of that, 79th day of the Gregorian, 79 is the 22nd prime. Alabama would become 22-22 for a tournament record with a loss, as their coach gets his 22nd loss as a coach for Alabama. This is their 44th tournament game today with 44 date numerology on the 79th day, the 22nd prime. The only thing that's helping them out, Alabama, is the 64 for the coach. 64 date numerology on the Gregorian. Their coach can sit on 64 losses with a win. It seems like Alabama doesn't look good with these 22s, but I'm not totally convinced that it's going to happen either. Especially against Iona. I don't think Iona would upset the current 15 seed. At some point in time, they are going to get that 15th loss for the tournament. It's their 16th tournament game. Alabama with the win can become 25-6 for a record. 256 connects to 16. It has a square root of 16. So that could be it. That could be what's for Alabama. 256 has a square root of 16. This is Iona's 16th tournament game. They're the 15 seed, and they can get their 15th loss as Alabama becomes 256. There's potential there for that. Yeah, Alabama, I mean, it's the second head-to-head. They're the number 2 seed. They can be 22-22. Their coach can get his 22nd loss. Alabama got to watch out. They got to watch out. I'm not totally convinced that they would lose, but, I mean, there's numbers there for it. All right, so we have USC versus either Wichita State or Drake. We haven't had a winner off of that game yet. But USC, same thing. They got to watch out with the 22s. 79th day on the Gregorian, 79 the 22nd prime. USC comes in with 22 wins, and they can get their 22nd tournament loss. 22-22. It's the 183rd day on the Hebrew civil year, and the coach can get his 138th loss for his career. 183, 138 are anagrams of each other. With that being said, though, USC, if they were to win, they would get their 14th their 14th tournament win as a team, as their coach gets his 196th win for his career. 196 has a square root of 14, and so that could be a combo for them to hit together. 14th win, 196th win. It's the coach's 333rd game. He can sit on 137 losses. 137 is the 33rd prime number. They can sit on 7 losses with the win. It is the 7th day of the Hebrew religious. 1421. Let's see if that's like a prime number or something. 1421. No number properties. Alright, so we'll have to come back to this game again when we figure out if it's Wichita or Drake. We'll come back to it. Let's keep it going. Grand Canyon in Iowa. It is the 7th day of the Hebrew religious. Grand Canyon could become 17-7 with a loss. 17 the 7th prime. We've talked about the number 17 quite a bit already in a couple games. 17 sums to 44 today with 44 date numerology on the Gregorian. 17 the 7th prime, the 7th day of the Hebrew religious. Grand Canyon could become 17-7 with a loss. Iowa would get their 22nd win on the 79th day, 79 the 22nd prime. They would sit on 28 losses for the tournament and on a day with 28 date numerology. The only thing that gets me here is Iowa's coach. If Iowa gets upset in this game, which would be a shocker, but if Grand Canyon pulls it off, Iowa coach, he would become 215, 152 for a record as a coach for Iowa with the loss. This is the 2 seed versus the 15 seed, 215. Or you can look at it as the 15 seed versus the 2 seed, 15-2. So 215, 152. That would be his record, and it would be the 15 versus the 2 seed upset. On top of that, there is 152 date numerology on the Hebrew Civil, and he can get that 152nd loss. So if there was going to be an upset here for Grand Canyon, it'd probably be because of the Iowa's coach record right here. It would be my guess. It'd be a doozy. It'd be a good one. 30, 29, 59, the 17th prime. Yeah. Yeah, that would be a doozy if it was the 215, 152. I don't know. Let's see if 467 has any properties. 467 is the 91st prime number. 91 is the 13th triangular number. The only thing that would jump out at me would be West, sums to 13, and 41, the 13th prime. Yeah, I'm not totally convinced with Grand Canyon upsetting with the 215, 152, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. You just never know. Iowa, their coach, he would get his 329th loss for his career as Iowa becomes 30-29 for a tournament record. 329, 329. I mean, it's there. There's some numbers there that you can play with for an upset. It might be hard to swallow, but they're there. Their numbers are there. So Maryland versus Yukon. It's the 7th head-to-head matchup. This is Yukon, the 7th seed. They can sit on 7 losses with the win. It's the 7th day of the Hebrew. Maryland would get their 28th tournament loss today with 28 date numerology on the Gregorian. And you know, 28 connects to 7 as well. 28 is the 7th triangular number. Yukon coach, he would sit on 141 losses with the win. The number 28 sums to 141. It also sums to 51, and he would get his 51st win as a coach for Yukon specifically. Maryland would get their 14th loss for the season as Yukon becomes 4-3, like 43, the 14th prime, head-to-head against Maryland. But this plays against Yukon because Maryland could easily become 4-3, like 43, head-to-head against Yukon with the win as they get their 43rd tournament win. Maryland would get their 17th win for the season. 17 sums to 44 today with 44 date numerology on the Gregorian. So you got to watch out for some of those numbers that can play both sides. Is there anything else here that jumps out? 58th prime, 221, 112, 13, 158, 15 eighths. Uh, 60, 30. Yukon could become 60, 30. 60, 30. This is the East. East sums to 63, 60, 30. It's the 7. I mean, it is the 10 seed versus the 7. That's what it kind of gets me, is the 10 seed versus the 7, like 107. 107 is the 28th prime number. That's what kind of gets me in favor for Yukon, because of Maryland getting that 28 on the 28 date numerology. 10 versus the 7, the 28th prime. And then their coach can sit on that 141 with the win and get that 51. Let's keep it going. Ohio versus Virginia. 64 date numerology on the Gregorian, the 79th day, which is the 22nd prime number. Ohio, their coach can sit on 64 losses with a win, as he sits on 22 losses specifically for Ohio with the win. This is their 22nd tournament game. The flip side to that is Virginia can become 2-2 head-to-head against Ohio with the win, and Virginia would sit on 22 tournament losses as a team with a win. So that 22 plays in both hands for Ohio and Virginia. It is the 7th day on the Hebrew Religious. Ohio can get that 17th win for the season. 17 sums to 44, 44 date numerology. 17 is the 7th prime number. Ohio would be 17-7. Virginia would get their 7th loss for the season. Although Ohio could just sit on 7 tournament wins with a loss. So that goes both ways. Virginia has a lot of COVID things going on with it. I think there's a lot of people that are out for the game because of COVID. But if anything's going to play in the favor for Ohio, it would be the 17. Ohio getting their 17th win. 17 for the upset would be 134 and 44. Today with 44 date numerology. This is the 13 seed versus the 4 seed. 134, like 134. 13 seed versus the 4. 17 sums to 134. Ohio can get that 17th win with the upset. They are the 13 seed. Virginia would become 1-3 head-to-head against Ohio, like 13 with the loss. Definitely potential there. Yeah, be on the lookout for that one. Today does have 89 date numerology on the Hebrew Religious. Ohio's coach would get his 89th win. And we can even take it further than that. 89 is the 24th prime number, and this is Ohio's 24th game of the season. So, potentially a good upset narrative here for Ohio. Keep an eye on that one. But with Virginia and the 19, they could just get that 19th win. Potentially. If they do, 19 is the 8th prime. Ohio would get their 8th loss. Might have to look ahead here at the next round. Oof. Well, let's say 196 has a square root of 14. So if there's a 14 connection with Virginia, that's probably it. That might be it. See any 14s here. Hebrew Civil is a day leaving 168 left on Monday. Ohio, they would be 168 if they would lose, but that doesn't match up with the date that they're playing. Excuse me. Yeah, potential Ohio upset here. Definitely look into that. It could just be as easy as Ohio getting their 8th loss and their coach sitting on 88 wins. So it could just be that simple. And then you throw in the 22 here and the 22 here and the 22 here. It could really just be that simple. All right, let's keep it going. Missouri versus Oklahoma. Today does have 10 date numerology on the Gregorian. Missouri can get their 10th loss. Oklahoma would sit on 10 losses for the season with a win. 28 date numerology on the Gregorian. 79th day of the Gregorian year, the 22nd prime. Missouri would become 22 and 28 for a tournament record with a loss. Or Missouri coach would get his 253rd win for his career. 253 is the 22nd triangular number. So that kind of goes both ways. The 76 or the 68 doesn't really get me either way. Missouri, they could get their 17th win for the season. 17 sums to 44. We've been seeing the number 17 in almost every single game. I mean, we'll find out if it hits or if it goes through. I mean, we'll find out on Saturday, but 17 has been popping up in a lot of the games. It's Oklahoma's 75th tournament game, and with the loss, Oklahoma would sit on 75 head-to-head wins against Missouri. I might want to check this head-to-head because I got it from Sports Reference. Sometimes they're wrong, so I may double-check this to see if this is accurate. I don't know if I want to put too much weight in into the 75 part. I gotta double-check to make sure this is accurate. I'll probably look on Oklahoma's website or something. But, you know, if Missouri does win this game, they would be 17-9 for a record. 179 is the 41st prime number. 41 sums to 46, and the next time one of these teams will be playing, if they win, would be in 2 days on a day with 46 date numerology. It'd also be 66 date numerology, and 66 sums to 41. So that could be a clue for a Missouri win, 179 potentially. Alright, let's keep it going. Gonzaga versus either Norfolk or App State. Gonzaga, they're coming in with 22 losses for the tournament. 79th day, 22nd prime. Outside of that, I don't really see anything else for them. Perfect 27-0. 27 doesn't really jump out at me. The only thing that 27 does for me is when 27, you write it out, it sums to 46. Gonzaga with the win would go into their next game on 46 date numerology. A perfect 27-0. 27 sums to 46. That's the only thing it really makes me think of. And then, of course, we'll have to relook at this game once Norfolk and App State play. Same with BYU. It's either going to be Michigan State University or UCLA. It is the 7th day of the first month on the Hebrew religious, like 71. BYU can get their 7th loss for the season as they sit on 20 wins. 71, the 20th prime, as their coach gets his 71st loss for his career. Does have 44 date numerology on the Gregorian. He would also sit on 44 wins for his career as a coach for BYU with a loss. So BYU has some numbers going against them for sure. At the same time, they can just go ahead and get their 21st win as well. 21 sums to 141. Today with 28 date numerology, 28 sums to 141. We'll see a more full picture once we see who they're playing to see what it's going to look like. Because they are the number 6 seed, and they could get their 16th win for the tournament. 6 sums to 16. It also sums to 20. In reference to 7th day of the first month, the 20th prime. You know, that could be what it's for. The 6th seed, BYU, can sit on 6 losses as they get their 16th win. 6 sums to 16. And even you can do some math. 216 or 216. 6 times 6 times 6 sums to 216. So That could be in favor for them for sure. It could, if BYU wins this game, their coach would get his 45th win, and it could potentially set him up for a win on Monday, a day with 46 state numerology, and get his 45th win today, and then on Monday get the 46th win, potentially. So you just got to kind of look at all angles and just see what's going on and see if any of it makes sense. Abilene Christian versus Texas. 7th day of the Hebrew, 7th day of the first month, 71 the 20th prime. It's the 20th of March, 7th day of the new year. Texas can get their 20th win and sit on 7 losses, 27. Their coach would sit on 141 losses with a win. Today with 28 date numerology, 28 sums to 141. Abilene Christian, their coach would get his 114th loss, which is an anagram of 141. 141, anagram of 141. It's their 28th game for the season, 28 sums to 141. And with Texas getting their 20th win, Abilene Christian can become 0-2, a reflection of 20 for a tournament record with the loss. Texas coach, it's also his 414th. 141, 414, 114. There's a pattern there a little bit. But with the loss, Texas, if they were to lose this game, they would sit on 19 wins with the loss as they get their 8th loss. 19 is the 8th prime number. And Texas coach would get his 86th loss as a coach for Texas. The number 19 sums to 86. So there's potential for that. 24, them getting their 24th win. I don't know. Let's pop it in. 24, 27, 39, 49, 50. I mean, it could just be in relation to 64. 64 sums to 49 and 50. 24 sums to 49 and 50. That could be potential for them. And even with 64, 64 has a square root of 8. 8 times 8 equals 64. Texas, that could be the reason why they get their 8th loss as well, potentially. And the last game, VCU versus Oregon. VCU, their coach, can sit on 127 wins with a loss. 127 is the 31st prime. This is their 31st tournament game. Oregon can even the score 1-1 head-to-head against VCU with the win, 31 the 11th prime. VCU coach, he would also get his 44th loss as a coach for VCU today with 44 date numerology on the Gregorian. Oregon, they would get their 21st win, 21 sums to 141 today with 28 date numerology, 28 sums to 141. With that being said, though, VCU, they can sit on 7 and get that 20th win, potentially, with an upset. Today, the 7th day of the first month on the Hebrew, 71, the 20th prime. 7th day of the Hebrew New Year. Oregon is the 7th seed. They too can become 20-7 with the loss. And their coach would get his 353rd loss for his career. And 353 is the 71st prime number. So that actually looks like an interesting upset narrative for Oregon, potentially. They got to be careful. They got to watch out. Outside of that, it's either going to be the coach that's going to give it away with the 127, the 44, the 31, and the 11, or it's just going to straight up be the 27. Oregon's the 7, 27, and then their coach 353rd loss, the 71st prime number. It's going to go either way on that one. Alright, well, hopefully I didn't make this video too long. Hopefully you got some information out of this if you're watching all the way to the end. Hopefully this helps, and I wish you guys the best of luck on your picks. Thanks for watching.